Good evening. I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, October 13th, 2015. It is 7:01. We have a board meeting followed by a committee of the whole meeting. Our first item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Sherby, would you please call the roll this evening?
Trustee Calcagno.
Present.
Trustee Celestino.
Present.
Trustee Perry.
Present.
Trustee Rita.
Present.
Trustee Stecker is absent. Trustee Yorkovich.
Present.
And President Bouillon.
Present. We do have a quorum this evening. Our next item is presentations. We have some outstanding citizen awards to Joseph Altier. Is Joseph here? There we go. Alana Jackson? Alana? Yes? No? Callie Hertz Crump? Is there a Callie here? And Gail Garza. Is there a Gail here? So we have 2 out of 4. Okay. 500. Sherby has them? Okay, Kelly and Elena come. We'll fit them in. All right. If Gail and Joseph would step up. How are you this evening? Good. A couple of weeks ago, which you well know, there was a fire at the BPM club. And you worked at the BPM, or you were the manager. So, in seeing what was going on, I understand from staff that you acted courageously in as much as you shut the pumps off, number one, before the whole gas station blew up. There were certainly a bunch of people in the gas station there as well. And Gail, you went and helped with the gentleman that started apparently his car on fire for whatever reason, and you helped him off the safe situation, saving his life. A whole host of other people as well. As we got to the scene, our chief of police was there, the fire chief was there, they streamed some photos. I was in the manager's office at the time, and we responded and saw the aftermath of what the fire did to the truck, did to the gas pumps, and did to the above structure awning and burning all that. And I guess at the end of the day, we're very pleased that you stepped up to be great citizens and help somebody in a very traumatic situation and actually put yourself at risk at the end of the day. And I certainly, as a former police officer, want to thank you for doing those heroic acts on behalf of the village and certainly the entire board and all the residents, and certainly the gentleman that needed the assistance, obviously. We needed that doing well. But it was probably a harrowing situation. Probably seemed like forever until the fire department and the police officers respond. You know, although our firehouses, one of them was a little bit further down the street, everybody was here doing training, which they do generally during the day, during the work hour. The 6 officers that work for the fire department on each shift were certainly doing their training and had to traverse the area and get there. Probably saw trucks from other locations, Hillside, Broadview, and other places, taking our mutual aids to come to assist us as we get this done. So, without further ado, if I may, presenting one to Joseph and one to Gail.
inside the truck. Alls I wanted to find out where he was at, and then to see if I could help contain the fire, but it was too far gone.
It's commendable. I'm hoping that the BP Amical people appreciate what you've done
We'll see.
for them. I mean, certainly you save a building and ultimately you save lives. There's no other way around it. Somebody could have died. Certainly could have been the victim that was in the car, or somebody pumped the gas right next door.
That's it. And knowing what you did for him, because he wasn't listening to us, and we were yelling at him.
Well, the fact that you turned off, because I was afraid, the fact that you turned off that pump, that made a whole difference. I didn't even do that.
And in fact, anybody can do that. I think you can control it remotely inside or externally right at the pump. There's a button that you hit and it shuts off the gas probably to that section. And then inside, I would imagine you could shut off the whole.
Right. Well, the outside one will shut everything off.
It shuts
also.
everything off.
Yes.
Okay, no matter what pump you're
No
running.
matter what.
I'm sure you didn't know that. We were running up there trying to help you out. So, I'm glad everything worked out. And that you're here to save it, so you're here.
Thank you.
I love work too.
Thank you. Yeah, there'll be, right after presentations, there'll be a forum for you.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, are there any other presentations this evening? No?
No, there are not.
Okay, public comments and questions. To give as many visitors as possible an opportunity to speak. In the interest of adjourning by 9, please limit your comments to 3 minutes in length unless further time granted by the board on active or general matters. So if anyone wants to speak, you got to step up to the microphone and state your name for the clerk, and hopefully we can answer something.
Mayor Puglia, good evening.
Hey, do.
Trustees, good evening, and your staff. I'll let you know I'm a resident of Westchester. Quite happy when I put a contract out on a house back in August 4th. I'm a
Sir,
little
could you state your
disappointed.
name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Sam, S-A-M-M-E-N-T-O-N. The address I'm referring to is 11052 Bolger Court. I put a contract in on a home and thought that this was going to be a great place to live. I understand the village has a system that they work on where the previous owners have to have a BOCA inspection to make sure the house is sound before it's actually sold, or if there's any problems pertaining to the contractual issues, I can voice those with a realtor or a lawyer. Anyway, put the contract in on August 4th. You people were informed that there was a contract, and the previous owners, which were the Euler family, contracted or contacted you people to come out and perform an inspection. Well, your inspectional department, which is BSF, came out. I don't think the man was too educated. I've been doing electrical work for over 40 years. I look like a young guy, but I've been in it for a long time. Here nor there, he wrote a series of violations on the home, and these were given to the owner, then were turned over to me, and we were able to voice our opinion on what was going to be repaired and what wasn't. Being that you people followed the 2000 electrical code, established November 15, 2015 in your village here, or 2014, I'm sorry to say, went ahead and looked at your PDF file, see if there was any other addendums that might be included in the electrical inspection and violations. Well, to say the least, if not less, the inspector inspected the house, wrote the violations, did not do a real complete job. So we negotiated a little bit, looked at some of the issues, tried to bring up some issues with the village here, to no avail. I FOIA'd on dates here that I've got written out, talked to Melissa here, also talked to this Jessica Spencer, still to no avail. what I'm trying to explain to you is that the violations that were present in the home are still present in the house. Now, a couple of serious things that are in the home are what they call BX cable. You don't allow it. It's in the house. The inspector missed it, didn't see it. It's in visual eye. It's in the basement. It's not hidden by a ceiling. The electrical service, he revamped where there was a violation because it wasn't high enough. It wasn't 10'2" from the foundation level up to the roof line of ComEd. All he did was extend the conduit, but extended the conduit so now there's an immediate contact with the gutters that surround the house. Conduit's laying right up against the gutter. The attachment that's on the home, which he should have cited, and should have cited with the service, he just passed. The problem I find out, though, is how could a guy inspect the house after the revisions when the electric shut off? The previous owners were not actual residents. They were in a trust with their kids. So they had moved on with their children. The home had been vacant for about 2 months. So electricity was shut off. So how's the inspector going to inspect the home when the electric is shut off? Let's check for closet lights to see if they work, see if they have encapsulates over them, see if they have bulbs in them. Pull the cord, there's no electric. So how do you know if the light works? Attic fan in the attic's hanging loose from the rafters. Doesn't he inspect up in the attic to see if there's any bare wires or things running through the attic? One second, just so I can give you my 3 minutes, and then you can give me all the response you want. I FOIA'd and FOIA'd and FOIA'd. I got a call yesterday asking what I would like to be done. I want to know the contractors who worked in your village. If you tamper with any water and or electric, you have to be a licensed and bonded contractor. You have to have a license, and you have to have a surety bond. I'm a contractor. I've got a bond paper right below me here in case I go out on any jobs to present it to any village. I usually have to pay $100 for a bond and whatever the business license is in your town, and then I'm subjected to any of your inspectional people to make sure that my job is done correctly, following probably the 2000 electrical code, which is the national code. So I'm asking for some help. I'm not asking to cause any issues, any problems. I like your town. I think you run a great town. It's a nice place. It really is nice. And where I live on Bolger Court, it's quiet. The neighbors are great. I've got other friends that I just met just recently. But I just don't see why I get a phone call, what do you want me to do? What do I want you to do? I understand you don't have a full-time electrical commission. I understand you don't have a full-time electrical inspector. I understand you're budget cutting, possibly. I'll give you all the credit in the world for doing that. Get somebody competent that knows what they're supposed to inspect. If a fire department person came to the home and saw that I had a gasoline tank in the basement, he would tell me, get it out of here. So the only way I can get it across, because I go to your front counter, I explain to people what I want, I FOIA, I wait my 7 days, I sometimes get my response, which is not a positive response. I don't think you want any home that has any issues in it. I think you want frontline residences. And I think that's to be commended by you people standing here and sitting here and policing your village. But I'm frustrated. And so I'm going to ask you now, can somebody please help me? Because if I can't get it at the front desk, the only way I felt was the proper way of doing it was to wait till a village board meeting, address you as the village president, let the village manager keep notes of what I'm speaking about, and let your 6 trustees listen to what my problems are. So if you could please help me, and I know the violations are still present. I understand the electrical inspector for BSF does not work for them anymore, which is a good thing for you guys, a very good thing. If he's not knowledgeable or capable of doing his job. But there are issues at this residence. Now, I can tell you one thing real quick. I don't plan on leaving. But if I was to put that house up for sale tomorrow, and you people came in to inspect, who's the one that's going to have to fix the problems? Me. So, Mr. Mayor, trustees, if you can help me, I'd really appreciate it. And I can tell you, I'm not lying to you. I certainly wouldn't tell you a story. Certainly not doing electrical work for over 40 years. I certainly wouldn't lie about that. Now, if you ask me how to shut water off or how to dig out a sewer in a front yard, I'd tell you, listen, I don't really know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? But electrically, I'm proud to know what I know how to do. And I know there's problems there. And I just can't see why I just can't get the cooperation of this village that I like. If you could please help me, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, well, let me start out by obviously apologizing for the chaos.
on our agenda this evening, we're going to be talking about code inspections and home inspections and things of that nature, because that has been a thorn in all of our sides way before I even took office in 2009. What's inspected? What do we look at? What's missed? What's not missed? Our inspections are not something that you would hire a inspection service to do. Generally speaking, our inspections have been for life safety issues, which apparently there are a few here. Why they were missed, I don't know. We did hire what we felt to be a competent inspection service in BNF because of some of the complaints and the non-compliance and the things of that nature, that when we had our own person who left on his own, we didn't terminate anybody. But it's always been a bone of contention on what are we looking at, what should we be looking at, should we not look anything at all, basically, and say, hey, you're buying a house, get a house inspection, here's our codes, knock yourself out. A number of homes have BX everywhere. I know my house does. It was built in the 50s. There was no inspection when I bought my house in 1980. And, you know, how are you going to rip out BX behind Knotty Pine? You got to rip out the whole thing and start all over again, which is not going to happen, and that brings us to the crossroads today. I don't know your specific case, to be quite honest with you, what all the issues were, which were the major ones that need to be addressed, or if there's been any conversation, or maybe Melissa knows, between she and B&F on the complaints that you had and why were these obvious things missed. Because quite frankly, I had a situation with a friend of mine whose step into the house had sunk over 50 years. It was missed. Somebody I knew bought the house and flipped it, and they got cited 3 months later for the step having the wrong slant to it. So it had to be raised, and certainly was a contentious situation. I just bought this. It didn't slip in the last 3 months. Why all of a sudden? So that's why I think we're at the crossroads today to discuss what is our inspectional service going to look at. I mean, they're not crawling in your attic. They don't do that. I don't think they've ever crawled in an attic unless there was something that they seen, but they're not opening up hatches and going in. They're looking for obvious things that I'm aware of. The GFI outlets, the globes in the closets. I know I had to replace these myself. Outside GFIs, double taps in the box, which certainly you would know about. I would imagine if they saw something and actually indicated that the wire was too low or something at the house, that somebody had to fix something. Hopefully they went back and took a look to see if it was repaired or whatever the case may be. You know, I can't answer some of those questions because I don't know without commentary from BNF that Melissa would ask to try to address those. So let's do this. Let's find out from BNF what happened and look at that file again. And village manager is now made aware of your situation as well. And we'll get back to you in a couple of days when we shake this thing out to see what happened and what rectification we can do.
If I could just add to this one quick question, though. We FOIA'd the, and here it is, the FOIA. I asked for general contractor applications, work completed at above address in the past 5 years and per the home sales. Again, if someone's working with ComEd or raising, right, or they're doing something else with water, they got to have a license. I mean, it's imperative that they have a license. I would think the village would cite them, fine them, and drag them down on the carpet for not being proactive in doing that. It's only for their protection as well as the homeowners. The other thing, though, is we've got Comcast cable that is supposed to be 3 foot from the utility, and it's riding right up to ComEd, right coming from the easement, because there is no alley behind Bolger Court. As well as you know, this is your village. How how these, and I don't want to address Melissa, I'd rather address you, because it looks like you run the show here, and I appreciate that. It just seems to me as if people are looking in this room, and we cite something that's a light fixture, we can count how many are in the room. If we're standing outside that door, we can't see it. With an inspector of this magnitude or capability, and the village inspecting it on top if there was an issue, because there's got to be some type of paperwork that follows the inspector's work. You see ComEd, and then you see Comcast. Something just doesn't seem right. But I'll take your word. I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate your time. I wanted to be the first one up here because I know you have normal business that you want to take care of. And if I have to, I don't want to wait anymore. I just want to live here and enjoy myself. You know what I mean?
Got it?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Mike, any comments, anything? Anybody?
I'm just wondering what happened with the FOIA. Were any documents produced, or?
Sir?
Well, it sounds
Sir.
like there was probably work done without a record on their end.
Are you still missing some documents from us? The attorney wanted to know if we are.
Did you get a response to the FOIA?
No, we did not.
Did you get a response that said there were no documents relevant to the request?
I'm sorry?
Did you get a response that said there were no available documents
No.
to satisfy the request?
I got a phone call yesterday, late afternoon, from somebody here that said to me, what more do you want us to do with this address? What more do I want you to do? I want you to give me what I asked for.
What's the date of your FOIA?
Pardon me?
What's the date that you requested it?
10/7/15. And I actually, the young lady that I spoke with was Jessica Spencer.
Mhm.
She was the
So
one
she
to
has
do-
5 business days to respond.
Yeah, so it's
So
due
the
tomorrow.
time had
Yeah.
not expired yet on
Depending
your
whether
request.
yesterday was a holiday, was it? Here?
Okay.
5 business days. right?
Was yesterday a
no,
holiday?
not
So
here, no.
It's due tomorrow, so.
Well, we'll follow up on
Hopefully
it
somebody's gonna
nonetheless.
get you documents or get an extension, because, you know, you're
Looking at-
required to have it answered
Right.
within 5 working days, or another 5-day working day extension beyond that, so.
Great, I appreciate it. Thanks again.
Melissa, we have Sam's numbers and stuff?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Next. Where- No. Well, I think Gail wanted to say something.
Did you want to speak, Gil?
Your shot at the box. There we go.
Hello, I'm Gail Garza. In light of what had happened with the one gentleman, I wasn't sure if this was a mental health issue, and it struck me, I'm a former Chicago public school teacher, and I teach yoga, and I'm around all kinds of different people throughout my life who've had mental illness and that, and I don't know the entire story about this gentleman, but I was concerned about him, and I wanted to see if there's some way I can help him. I wanted to do that, legally, if I can help him. With that being said, to me, this was something that had to deal with mental health, because someone who would do something like that has problems. So, with that being said, with the shootings, mass shootings, and all sorts of ugliness going on in our world, I think that if we speak about mental health issues early on and take away the shame and the stigma of it, and speak to children and get everyone involved and bring family back. This is one of the reasons why I love Westchester, because since I was I live in the city. I grew up on the southwest side of Chicago, and I've always wanted to live someplace like this because I grew up around gangs and a lot of violence. And I thought, my whole life, I'm like, what makes something great? And truly, it's not having a lot of money or things. It's having someone to talk to at home, having family, having someone who listens to you and loves you and cares about you. And when you have problems at home, it's very stressful. And if you don't have someone to talk to who's a professional to help you iron things out, it's not that you're crazy or you're a loser. Sometimes you need that help. I don't care how smart you are, what a professional you are, how fabulous you are. Everyone needs help at some time in their life, some more than others. And so I brought resources from NAMI, which is the National Alliance of Mental Health, So I'd like to put this here, and you can take this at will. And there's also a training they had given to me. It's a volunteer training as a crisis intervention team for police officers. At least they have it in Chicago. And I thought maybe, it might help. And, you may have a veteran who's, say for instance, a veteran who's can't handle civilian life and seen some awful things where he or she was and might do something that's harmful. And maybe there's another way we can approach these issues. And I also have some veteran crisis line, so if you'd like to take that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You know what I would suggest, the police stuff, our police chief, John Carpino, is right there. He also was at the fire scene. Could tender those things to him. That's kind of his department. And the other stuff, if you want to leave it right on Sherby's desk, we will make sure we put them out in the lobby or in the back as we, people come into the meeting, and if you pass, there's a little table of information there as well.
And I also want to say one more thing. If anyone ever, I do a lot of volunteer work, and I provide gift baskets, anything that's going to help out humans, animals, and the environment. And I have a lot of connections to that.
Well, we do have a food pantry that's quite stocked right at this particular minute, but that kind of comes and goes over time. But certainly we can get you in contact with them if you'd like to work with that as well. All right. Thank you. Any other public comments? Once, twice, 3 times. Okay, I don't believe we have any public hearings. Is that correct,
No, we
Janet?
don't.
Okay, consent agenda. We have items A through G. The first is item A, approval of the record of bills ending 10/8/15 in the amount of $2,225,246.14. Approval of September 22nd exec session, village board meeting, and also committee of the whole. Department reports, fire, police, PW. Ordinance ratifying and approving the execution of a contract between the Village of Westchester and Strata Construction Company, Addison, Illinois, for services related to the 50/50 sidewalk program. Item E, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a right-of-way license agreement by and between Save the Prairie and the Village. Resolution ratifying the acceptance of the grant funding from the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program in the amount of $26,854, I believe. I don't know if there's some change with that, John. An ordinance waiving competitive bidding and authorizing the purchase of a 2016 Ford Utility Police Interceptor and additional equipment and graphics, the equipment being $9,127.05, and the graphics at $795, which is all part of the grant piece. So, does anybody need anything pulled? If not, I think I got all the money correct. Mike, are we close?
You're close. You missed D.
Which one?
Not to exceed $45,000, the Strata Construction.
No, 45,000. Okay, sorry about that.
You're taking over my job. I'm like sitting here.
So, anything additional? If not, anybody want anything pulled? If not, is there a motion and a second for the approval
So
of
moved.
A through G?
Second.
Tommy and Frankie? Anything else? If not, Sherby, please the roll.
Trustee Calcagno.
Aye.
Trustee Celestino.
Aye.
Trustee Perry.
Aye.
Trustee Rita.
Aye.
Trustee Yorkovic.
Aye.
President Kulia.
Aye, motion carries. Item number 8 on our active agenda, resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an amendment to the professional engineering service agreement between the Village of Westchester and V3 Company, Illinois, for additional services related to the Mayfair Reservoir Expansion Project, Phase 2, in the amount of $18,880. Motion?
So moved.
Carl, second.
Second.
Celeste.
We're going to need a motion to waive the committee
was
of
it
the
on
whole. These 3 items are, the reason they're on the active is I don't believe any of them have been discussed at committee of the whole, with perhaps the exception of the change order, which is item C.
Okay. So, Carl and Celeste, I would ask you to make the motion to waive
I'd like to make the motion to waive
Committee of the whole.
committee of the whole and put this on the agenda for this evening.
Second.
Celeste on there? Okay. Roll call on that, please.
You can just do it by
Voice?
acclamation.
All those in favor of the waiving,
Aye.
say aye. Aye. Any opposition, say no. Okay. Now the motion for the approval of the 18,880.
That requires a roll call.
Motion,
So moved.
Second.
Celeste? Before we take a vote on this, you've heard me mention this before. This is in my craw, in addition to item C. But when we bid out this job of the total expansion in all the phases, we looked for X amount of dollars from Metropolitan Water Reclamation District for digging the hole and running the pipe down Carlisle. In my opinion, and I'll just leave it at that, we had 4 streets, Mayfair, Kensington, Downing, and Buckingham, and Sunnyside to a certain degree at Carlisle, that were constantly underwater. And what we were doing was trying to fix the whole place so we'd never have to go there again if, in fact, we got a big rainstorm. That being said, I guess at the end, why wasn't all these other streets of Downing and Kensington added into the original plan, and the additional storm sewer connections to a pipe that was being added presented to MWRD in a total package where possibly we could have gotten more of the 80-20 than we got. So what in effect we did by looking at this, we had a $1,100,000 project that now is at $1,400,000. So in essence, we have a 30% increase in the project, $300,000+. Now, in my opinion, that all should have been laid out in a bid spec, and the bid went forward, and see what we would have got. Because if you look at both of these, it's costing us $300,000 for Downing and Kensington and the burger thing, which is coming up. And I'm not against it. I'm just saying I wish that there was better engineering, whatever you want to call it. And Robert, this isn't your bailiwick. We're paying an engineer to engineer this project. And it was not you. This was a contract service. And on top of it, an additional oops by V3 that didn't realize that we were a separated system and that they were going to run these perpendicular pipes to either the existing pipe or the new pipe if it came from the north to the south. That's costing us another $87,000 after we did our magic to whittle that 120 or whatever it was down to 87. So this should stick in all of our craws. This is a $400,000 add-on on a $1 million project. That's asinine. That's asinine. I would have preferred that this isn't a new project. We've been playing around with this for 2 years. We've hired an engineer who started out with the reservoir expansion and potential, how do we get people out of the floodplain? How do we stop people's basements from being flooded? Paying good money for engineering to come back with a whoops. I mean, that's all we got at the meeting was a whoops. Not even a, geez, we'll waive our $18,000 fee. We didn't even get that out of them.
Did you ask for it? Was it asked for?
Not directly,
Well, maybe we should.
indirectly.
Are we stuck now? or-
No, yeah, we're stuck. We're stuck. And I'm just venting now.
No, right.
This is the frustrations that we all should have. You know, if it was me or you make a mistake, guess what? We try to rectify it.
right.
And do something. Okay? Yeah, we added on Downing and Kensington, but at the end of the day, I'm not an engineer. You're not an engineer. And we pay a company to engineer this project. It should have come to us in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, or whatever it would have been, and presented that to MWRD. And, you know, maybe it was, and I'm ignorant. And they said, guess what? We're not going to do anything with your laterals on Downing and Kensington. Then why are they doing anything on Mayfair or Buckingham? There's 4 streets there that are just as tortured as any one of the other ones. So this is not an internal staff situation here. I think that we were let down in some fashion because at the end of the day, this is costing us about $400,000 that's coming out of the bonds that we had planned certainly for road improvements for next year. So if we're planning $1.5 million or $1 million whatever two in road improvements like we've done since I've been in office, we've just lost $300,000 to $400,000, fans. And we still have a sanitary relocation line project on Sunnyside geared up, hopefully to start in the spring. It better start in the spring. So again, I mean, this is our money. I just would have preferred that it be packaged a little different way. I like to know all my costs. I told everybody from the get-go, I hate change orders. And that goes back to my school district days when we added $1 million to a project. And I said, that will never happen again when I'm working, that we're going to have all these change orders. If you didn't know the building and you didn't whatever, guess what? You get no extra engineering fee. How about that? That's your punishment. So in the future, everything has to be on the table so we can make an intelligent decision because it deals with all of our monies and all the other people's monies for the next 20 years when it's being paid out of bonds. And this has to get done. I'm just saying I would have liked to have known the total exposure. We probably would have went with it, but maybe we could have got $100,000 off in a bid doing it all. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they would have come higher. You never know. But already, with the NICOR debacle, that screwed us for what, 3 weeks? It wasn't our job to call NICOR up. It was the engineer's job to call NICOR up and schedule everything before they put one shovel in the ground. The contractors mobilized. They said, hey guys, we can't do anything here after this little stuff that we do. And they take all their stuff out. Now they got to remobilize again. You think that's for free? It ain't for free. Plus the 3 weeks that they were playing around doing nothing where NICOR was working there, we're going to be pushed back 3 weeks. So our timetable is when? And you've heard me pontificate up here 100 times about timetables and getting stuff done before the snow falls. It's always an issue when the snow is falling. Can't stripe, the asphalt plant's closed down. Who wants to drive on stone? I mean, just so the weather's nice today doesn't mean it's not going to be lousy tomorrow. So these are things that are in my craw that are preventable, in my opinion. So that's all I got to say on it. But I'm not a happy guy. And none of us should be happy here as well. So, with that,
got a motion.
Is there a
on the floor.
motion?
Yeah, you need a roll call vote.
Right. So motion on the floor for, and I'm not even sure who even gave it. Who gave it, Celeste?
Carl.
Carl and Celeste again? Okay. And this is on A on the active agenda. It's a resolution authorizing the professional agreement with V3 for 18-8.
Trustee Celestino.
Aye.
Trustee Carey.
Aye.
Trustee Rita.
Aye.
Trustee Yorkovich.
Aye.
Trustee Calcagno.
Aye.
President Booth.
No. Item number B, is there a motion and a second to waive?
So moved.
Tommy, second?
Second.
Carl. Motion is second to approve a resolution for improvements of streets and highways by the Village of Westchester under the Illinois Highway Code. Okay, so motion is second on the floor.
Trustee Carey.
Aye.
No, wait.
Trustee
No,
Rita.
no,
No,
no, where we,
not
no.
No, not yet. Robert, can you give us a little background on this, please?
These resolutions are required going a motor fuel tax audit by the State Department of Transportation, and these are more or less perfunctory to clear up paperwork that wasn't complete in the past. So what they were short were resolutions to past work done in 1995, 2000, 2002, 2004, 2006, and a couple projects in 1999. So we just need to have these resolutions, and we had no prior record, and this will clear audits. We're somewhere in the neighborhood of a couple $1 million we're clearing up during the audit. And it's all about the paper trail, and we were short some paper, so that's what this is about.
Well, thank you. And I'll just add a little bit to that. Janet and I and Jessica, as our FOIA officer, and that had been told by the state of Illinois that we needed to go back and document where all the MFT money had been spent back to 1988, maybe even before that. 86. Although I was here, I wasn't in the office to have any knowledge of that, and our filing system, certainly dating back to 86, isn't in any great order of locations. I know the staff has worked diligently and spent a number of hours rooting for documents, and not only your location, Robert, but up in the rafters up above, and we're able to come up with a good portion of the required documents, but certainly not all of them. I know staff has been in contact with the state of Illinois, and also a personal meeting with the people involved out at the IDOT headquarters in trying to get some resolution to this. We are not the only city that's under the gun, but as you can imagine, with the state of Illinois looking for or operating under probably, I'll call it a business model versus a different model that has been happening over the last 20 years or so, that the state wants to know that A, we spent the money in the correct locations, and that we should be able to dot our I's and cross our T's with where the money had been spent. I know staff has contacted some of our engineering firms of the past to get some documents. We've been able to recreate some documents based on budget things that I've had in my office going back to 2005. And I believe that this subject is something that and Janet, correct me if I'm incorrect, that the state of Illinois has indicated they will accept in lieu of finding some of the documents that no longer exist. Is that
It's correct.
pretty clear?
In our conversations with IDOT, they plead that, they've been understaffed and things like that, but interestingly enough, you'll notice the dates on these resolutions they're requesting, but they claim that our last MFT audit was in 2002. So begs the question of the quality of that audit done in 2002, if they had certain projects, the most post-dated one did date back to 1986. Certain of them that were over 20 years old. They did agree to just write it off, but basically what they're doing is having the current administration sign off stating that the funds were spent according to what they were intended for. We're confident they were. We have a financial audit every year, and our auditors do audit our expenditures in the motor fuel tax fund. So this is one situation where it's kind of a duplication of effort, since every municipality has to have a financial audit annually by statute. IDOT does have a statute stating that they are supposed to be doing these audits as well. And they just haven't done their job. And now they're making it incumbent on all the municipalities to go back sometimes up to, 29 years and try to provide documentation, which we've expressed our concerns to the director of IDOT.
And now, just thinking about what you've indicated, would it be prudent for us to, I'm sure we have all our audit documents that gave us somewhat of a clean bill of health in those funds, although there may be some management comments in there about certain things, but is it our plan, or is it suggested that we attach some of the old audit forms relative to the MFT funds that found those to be in compliance as part of our response back?
No, they have received copies of the audits,
Okay.
any that they've requested, and part of the issue is that we've all been struggling with, and Robert can attest to as far as filing of documents. We got a list of open projects that are referenced, like you see here, 95-00055-00-RS, without any explanation of what the project is. So, we would generally file under a street name, like if it was, say Gardner Reconstruction.
Yeah.
So just to identify what they're even asking for has been a struggle between the two, which is why we went and we met personally with them so they could look in their files and we could try to resolve issues. But it's been a very frustrating process.
Okay. Just with respect to this particular resolution, if you remember, anytime we do a project with MFT funds, IDOT has a form resolution. It's a fill-in-the-blank form, and actually Jessica filled one of those out for this, but we decided to recraft it. But these projects, they call section numbers. That's how they identify the project. And I've gone through this with several other municipalities, and I actually used a Forest Park resolution that we did 2 years ago to catch up all of these. When you're talking about the audit that they're doing, IDOT suddenly comes up and says, oh, we paid out all these motor fuel funds, but we don't have the full appropriation that was paid out to the municipality. So they go back and they sweep up all of these, and you get these things from 1999 in here. But it just means that they paid out some funds, and they've got a resolution that didn't cover the entire amount. That's why you see in the second paragraph it says, we're saying that we only use those funds for the streets, highways, and operations referenced in those projects, which they call section numbers. So I guess they accept this, and then they wash their hands.
They'll close those.
They'll close those out, we think, but 20 years from now, maybe we'll get one from, 2005 that's listed here, so.
Okay. Well, I think staff, obviously, to be commended in all the hard work, and I know there's been a struggle trying to find something and look in papers and boxes and things of that nature that didn't have all the go right to it kind of thing. So, with that being said, there's a motion and a second on the floor from, I believe, Tom and Carl, again.
We do need a roll call on that.
Roll call.
Trustee Perry.
Aye.
Trustee Huda.
Aye.
Trustee Stecker is absent. Trustee Yorkovich.
Aye.
Trustee Calcagno.
I'm going to abstain from that.
Trustee Celestino.
Aye.
And President Boolia.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number C, I know we've talked about this at a cow, Mike, so we don't need to waive on that, or do you want to clean?
Actually, when this first came across my desk a week to 10 days ago, that we needed to approve these change orders, I went back and looked through the minutes. It was represented to me that these two streets were included in the bid specs as alternates. And so we actually did get bids for these amounts. It's just that the contract listed the base bid, and so these did go out to bid. So your comments with respect to the V3, at least these were subject to bid. They were competitively bid. These are the two alternates that I couldn't find any reference in the minutes of either the COW meeting or the board meeting, the base contract. But I do recall people talking that you wanted to add these two streets. So they were bid. Fortunately, you got the bid amount, so the competitive price. But have they done some of this work already, Robert? Okay.
What prompted this was the lack of a signed document.
Right.
The
The contract
contractor,
that we had only was for the base amount.
he did not want to start without a signed contract.
Right.
Rightly so.
So we did these as two change orders because, to the best of our recollection, these were included in the board's intent. But now, since you have to approve a change order, you got to vote on this again. So we
Okay.
don't have to waive the cow,
Just vote on it.
but you can vote on it.
Okay.
So you need a motion and a
Is there a
second.
motion and a second to approve the resolution? Mike, I don't have the amount written down. I think it's 3 something.
Yeah, I just had it, and now I took my glasses off.
307, 536 and 90 cents.
90 cents?
$307,536.90.
Is there a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Tommy and Angelo? Roll call?
Trustee Rita?
Aye.
Trustee Yorkovich?
Aye.
Trustee Calcagno?
Aye.
Trustee Celestino?
Aye.
Trustee Clary?
Aye.
President Puglia?
Aye, motion carries. Managers report.
Just a couple things this evening. I'm sure President Puglia will expand upon it, but we had the opportunity last week to attend the West Central Municipal Conference legislative trip in Washington, D.C., and had opportunities to meet with Senator Kirk, Congressman Davis, Congressman Quigley, and members of the U.S. Department of Transportation. Was a good trip, got a lot of good information, and I'm sure President Puglia will have some more comments on that. Also, on Wednesday, President Puglia, Finance Director Maureen Patemba, and myself will be attending a budget address that State Senator Kim Lightford will be putting on. So we're hoping to go there and get a few answers regarding the state fiscal situation. I don't know if many people know, but the state continues to withhold our motor fuel tax monies and our gambling revenues. Seeing that we're in mid-October now and the snow is going to be falling soon, we pay for our salt out of our motor fuel tax monies, and we have not received any money from the state. We're in the state's second fiscal quarter already. There appears to be no action in Springfield, so if anybody wants to contact their legislators and ask what's going on would be great. We also have a bond payment due in December 1st that we fund out of our motor fuel tax funds. So it's going to become an issue for not only Westchester, but many other municipalities if the state does not release these funds very quickly. So that's all I have for tonight.
All right.
Doom and gloom.
Mr. Attorney, Michael.
I don't have any
anything for us?
report for this evening.
Nothing?
Thank you.
Board members, Frankie, anything from EDC?
For EDC, we are planning our next summit meeting, which is going to be tax-related with tax information.
Tax, you said?
Yeah, we're focusing January, February-ish in time for tax season. So we're looking for speakers to give some insight on new laws and regulations. The livability survey
is going pretty strong. We got 71 residents that have responded via online survey, and 26 have actually filled out the paperwork and handed those in. That's nice. It's 100,
good-
yeah, so far.
Good number so far.
Right, and I know that Jessica's talking to the 92 and a half, Divine Infant, Divine Providence, to put fillers in the take-home folders for the parents and that kind of thing also. So
Great.
it's going.
Thank you. Celestine, anything?
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Carl?
A couple things. Last Saturday, we concluded this season's electronic recycling for the season. To begin with, the new location was a success. It made this year's run at doing the electronic recycling a lot easier. We didn't have any problems with traffic as we had in the past. I also want to thank all the volunteers, all the village staff who helped out, all the volunteers who helped us every month. It really went great, and looking forward, and as well as the company that took care of us, all of the stuff. They were fantastic. Not had one bit of problem with them, and like I said, it made this year's event very, very easy to manage. Secondly, this week last week went to the fire department open house. I want to thank them for their hospitality. It was a very nice time, even though you had the banner raising for the Blackhawks and the wild card game for the Cubs. It was still well attended. It looked like a number of parents and kids were there, and everybody had a good time. So thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Angie.
I hear you new safety pup.
I cannot confirm or deny that.
So I met with the administrative team of the fire department, captain, chief, and all that stuff, a week ago Saturday. And we sat down and discussed the second ambulance topic, and came up with some ways that maybe they can kind of give us a list of resources that, what it would take to actually get this up and going. So, moving, suggested maybe just move in a more positive direction versus, what we don't have. A list of what we need so that we as a board can, possibly make decisions on, whether or not we could make that happen. So I know Chief Adams is out today, so.
Mike, did they talk of any timelines? Because it's been our experience that over time, we ask for stuff in May or June, and we still talk about it the next May or June.
I know, I thought today was gonna be like,
No, they've been given an assignment to present back to the board next board meeting on October 27th.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I let them know that, the board wants to see positive movement every board meeting, not just, kind of letting it sit in the,
It took us years to get the Z-Tron,
And-
so,
and- And in all honesty, I mean, they gave me some information there that, indicated that they are working on it, they are looking at all the options and everything, so versus just saying that, it can't be done because of this, what would it take to get it done, so.
Tommy, anything, my friend?
CAB's going to be starting their annual toy drive in the beginning of November. Other than that, that's it.
I know also we have there's a resident in town whose son is overseas. I know we have the collection. It's been for toiletries and things of that nature. We're going to try to get something to him, his battalion or whatever. So if anybody has toiletries and things like that we've collected before with the Boy Scouts and that, we have the bin out in front that we're going to try to get some. In fact, at the recycling event, some lady gave me an envelope to buy some stuff, and there was 100 in it. Yeah, so be giving that to Janet. I think it's still sitting on the visor, but I didn't know what it was, and I opened up. I thought it was a 10, and I saw another 0, so I was pleasantly surprised and mentioned that to Janet. So we'll be using that. She said for postage, which is probably some cost
postage is,
along
if
with
it's
it.
overseas, it's quite expensive. We did a our family did one last year, and the postage for a few boxes was like $150. We didn't know that until we went to the post office, and, you know, we thought there was a break when it goes to an APO address, and no.
Yeah, you would think that sending stuff overseas to service
Mhm.
people in bulk, that isn't just for me sending me, you know, a care package to my son overseas, okay, would be a different kind of thing, but I've had some experience with that as well, doing some stuff. Angelo talked about the update. I had my hit parade, seeing where we are with that.
And Sam, just not to interrupt you, but, too, we did discuss that because it's a collaborative, kind of undertaking between captains and chief and all that stuff, that it might be a good idea if all of them were able to come and make the presentation. You know,
They will.
just hearing more, you know, a broader perspective, you know, from everybody.
They have committed to attend.
Okay, that's great. No issues with that. Police chief stuff, is that on the horizon? Do you have your, I've been asked over the last couple of days if we've put out the notice for our replacement, what the requirements are, and I know we've got some general ones, but I didn't want to give any bad information.
I've put in a call to a local consultant on these matters and have forwarded my job ad to him for review. I'll follow up with him tomorrow to see if he's had a chance to look at it. And he is also going to give me some recommendations for several individuals to be on the interview team. So the thought would be to post that by the end of the week and give it approximately 3 weeks for response time, and then be interviewing by late November, early December.
Okay, good. I know that the report from NORCOM came back, and I don't see Greg here today, but I've been going over this report and what this is in conjunction with is the BP Amoco fire that we had, that we awarded some awards to civilians here. And if I have this correct, the first call to NORCOM was at 10:58:26. The police were dispatched, it looks like about a minute or so later at 11:01, and the fire was dispatched also at 11:01 and 16. I can understand running a 911 center as I had and designed the Westchesters back in 1991 about time. The difficulty I have is that there was about 2 minutes and 44 seconds between the time NORCOM first got the call and fire was dispatched. And certainly the police within seconds of that. In my opinion, having answered those phone calls, it certainly doesn't take 2 minutes and 44 seconds to dispatch a police car and a fire car to say that there is a car burning in a gas station at Wolf Road and Cermak Road, to get the cavalry going and indicate that there'll be more information to follow when I get it. Because certainly being on the phone for 45 seconds, 50 seconds, or a minute, gathering, you know, questions about are there anybody injured, which are important questions to get, but in my experience, I'd like to have the cavalry on their way, and then I can always update them as they're en route. And I don't think that that's not obtainable. I can honestly state, in all the years that I ran the 911 system, there was no 2 minute and 44 second delay between the time of any call and the ring down circuits that we'd ring you guys down on. Never. And I get that gathering information is important, but we would get the call, There would be two of us sitting there. I'd be repeating it. The second person would be dispatching police. Ring down, we'd get more information and then rattle that information off as it is. That there's injuries, that, you know, you can tell when you get a call and multiple calls that it's getting crazy down there. And I'm sure they got 20 calls or whatever they got on this at the same time. But they have 20 people gather information from A to Z that would delay a dispatch for 2 minutes and 44 seconds. And I don't care what the NFPA standard is or what it isn't to do, 2 minutes and 44 seconds, if I have this time right, is too long a time to get the cavalry going. I don't care what NORCOM says. I really don't care. And obviously that needs to be addressed by fire chief to NORCOM or Greg with NORCOM about whatever. I read their letter a couple of times today, and, you know, being somebody that with Chief Carpino made our bones being dispatchers in Addison in 1972, I think that he would agree with me that 2 minutes and 44 seconds to get the fire department going is an excessive period of time. And today, on or around this time, it was a little bit after 12, I timed myself driving, stopping at every light other than at Fensel Lane, to the scene, driving normally, getting stopped at the Mannheim light, getting stopped at the Wolf Road light, and getting stopped at the Cermak Road light. It was 5 minutes and 30 seconds to drive that. Not getting caught at the lights was a 3 minute and 30 second. So the lights were 2 minutes. Now, a fire truck or a police car or an ambulance is blowing the lights. And they're traveling less than the or more than the posted speed limit, guaranteed. So, our response time has always been, George, to a call, 2 to 3 minutes, probably anywhere. You know. So, whatever. I mean, we have that video, and I know there was cuts in and out of it, but it seemed like it went on forever. And, you know, we have an 8-minute time on the end of this piece here. So, again, my issue was with the dispatch time. So that certainly needs to be addressed. Carl, your wife is a dispatch person, and I would imagine if you would show this to her, that she would have some angst with this, that it took 2 minutes to dispatch anybody. I don't care what information you're getting. You could always send and get more information and relay on the way. So that's what I have about that. All of you got Janet's email today that BNF is back in the game. We had a 3-week hiatus due to a resignation by a code enforcement person. As I reflected about our code enforcement and over the last couple of years, you know, I have to indicate I'm disappointed when the part-time guy left and nobody was doing it, and then one of our guys got sick or ill and he wasn't doing it, and we didn't have a chance to replace somebody, and it just seemed that our code inspection operation leaves a lot to be desired. Now, with that, I had a conversation with Mr. Bill Fox, who is a retired firefighter, and I gave him what my expectations were. Melissa brought him around today with another guy named Jeff. I don't know if Jeff is doing the inspections as Mr. Mellon indicated, who was done before, that you know, that may have been done incorrectly, or certain things were missed that weren't on the list, or whatever it was. But I'm hoping that, you know, BNF be put on notice of what our expectations are. And certainly after today's discussion, I know Angelo brought something up several weeks ago on an inspection that he didn't feel was done properly. But I'm here to tell you, if there was nobody in the game today for doing inspections, I was going to ask this board to terminate any contract with BNF and go someplace else. Flat out. because they don't have anybody for 3 weeks. In an inspectional season, if we have 1 million inspections going on, and a lot of paperwork that was being transacted, and a lot of due dates that are supposed to be due, and, you know, we look like we're falling down on the job.
We're not getting charged for these 3 weeks that
So,
there's no fee.
how many what are we getting, I mean, is it a full-time, 40-hour a week, or is it just part-time?
It's,
what's
is
the-
requested. Melissa, how many days, there's inspections and then
Code enforcement.
code enforcement. So code enforcement during the summer, Melissa, did you have her for 3 days generally?
After we had the change in staffing from internally to them, go to, and then she unexpectedly left. So I think probably for the next couple weeks, we'll have the new inspector on 5 days a week just to kind of get us caught up, get us on the right track. And then we'll probably dial him back to 3 days. And then in the winter, if we don't need him as much, we might even go down to 2 days, depending on what the volume is. But we'll play that by ear. And then on the building inspection side, that's Jeff, who he's here 5 days a week. And then we also have someone else who's here 2 days a week. And we pay them all hourly, so it's only based on the number of hours that they're here.
For code enforcement, on the code enforcement side,
Mhm.
what are we doing to ensure that we're covering the whole town? Are we designating, you know, when that code enforcement person goes out for the 3 days that we, or now he's gonna go out, you said 5 days a week, are they gonna kind of section off the town so that we know that they're covering, you know, the entire areas?
So there's two things that they're handling. They're handling the incoming calls, and then they have direction to provide proactive property maintenance. I think they're going to be focusing probably on the north side first. I know that was something that was mentioned by Sam today, and I told them that yesterday when I met with them initially. So we're probably going to be starting on the north side and systematically working our way around.
So when they're done, we know they did from Gardner to Manheim, from the expressway to Roosevelt, and we know that section was done, and then move on.
Correct.
Well, and I still think that you're going to have, you know, specifics. I know Nick and Tommy shared something in their neighborhoods that need to be addressed ASAP. What I would suggest is, I know Kelsey was working on a bunch of things, and it could have, I don't say hodgepodge, but, you know, I had her bouncing around like a yo-yo with things that I've seen.
Well, just so that after
So-
3 or 4 months, we didn't miss a whole section of town.
Well, and it's certainly incumbent upon us too. I mean, we drive around out there to PD and Public Works. You know, if they see something that's not right, I mean, I got a list in my office of addresses jotted down as I delivered the leaf bags on the north side and over in my neck of the woods that I want them to take a look at. You know, some more urgent than others. But again, I mean, the list is endless. I mean, you could drive up and down and make yourself crazy of the things that, you know, need to be addressed. So, I had a great conversation with Mr. Fox today. He was going to be here to introduce himself, but I wanted Nick to be here because he was wearing his IAFF pin. So, you know, I wanted to start that off on the right foot with Nick, that they have some commonality in job perspective. So, you know, hopefully it's going to work. Only time is going to tell. Carl?
Just a quick question. During this 3 weeks of lag time, I don't know if it could be answered or not, was there any delay with people that had to have their home inspections for sales? Was that put on hold, or there was?
No.
No?
No, that's done.
No.
We have someone who's here 5 days a week, and then we also have someone who, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, especially during the summer, we were finding that we still needed some extra assistance. The schedule was just getting pushed out too far, because even when we had a building inspector on staff, we were still calling on BNF during our heavy times to pitch in and give us some extra inspectional staff. So during the summer, we were finding that we consistently needed someone else. So we got on a schedule of every Tuesday and Thursday having a second inspector. So building inspections haven't been impacted either by the change in staff from that person leaving the company, or there hasn't been any interim, no interruption in building inspections.
We used to have 2 on staff, Carl.
No, I know.
Yeah, right. No, I mean before, we
Right.
had 2 of 'em on the payroll, right.
So, other things, leaf bags are out, subject to some kind of discussion. I kind of penciled in some responsibilities. D is for Dave Galandak. He's been delivering in this area the last couple of years. I don't think I went this way. The yellow ones with the S, that's what's done thus far. Celeste, if you can take a look at that Martindale Estates kind of area where you live. And Angelo, you see your south side, Carl, and I'm going to try to hit the Pelham area tomorrow and clean up the short streets. So Saturday morning, if it's a nice day and you guys want to come and deliver, we got 17 pallets back there. I got rid of the 4 pallets that we had left over, 3.5 or whatever was left. So those have been delivered already to make room for what we have here. So I'd like to get these out sometime during this month. Our last collection day for leaf stuff is garbage-wise, I think it's the 5th of December, whatever that week is. So the first week of December is usually it, depending on how it falls during the week. But I'd like to get these things out before people start calling, the leaves are coming down. So we'll plan accordingly. If you need some help, we'll try to figure it out as well. The Boy Scouts offered to assist. I'm not sure they're going to be able to do it this weekend, and they have a couple events going on. The difficulty is when we farm it out is, did it get done? And trust me, I don't want any of the calls that you miss my house and I become a delivery boy to deliver packets.
Didn't they used to
like
pick
I
them up
have.
here in Village Hall?
Used to pick them up here.
I remember my grandfather used to go in the back.
Yeah, and we changed that when we got on the board prior to you, that the trustees were delivering them as a goodwill thing. At one time, we had little flyers that went in them that actually somebody paid for, and we delivered, so there was no cost to these, and then Waste Management offered to pick up the tab on them, and we've been doing it ever since. So generally, these sections, there's probably a pallet, maybe a little bit more in the lines there, based on what we've been delivering. I think I have like 1,400 out already. So again, the pallets are here. Coordinate over the weekend or whatever to try to get some of these things out before it starts raining, because we're pretty much screwed when it rains. So with that. Melissa, I know I shared some information with you regarding the handicap signage and whatever. We've been working through a couple of locations that have had some issues. I know some people are going to be going to court pretty soon for non-compliance, but I was digging through my stuff at home, and I have a letter from the Attorney General, Jim Ryan, dated November 25th, 1997, that this has been on my horizon when I was on the school board and met them at the conference. And at the bottom here, tweaked me, and I showed this to Melissa today. This is a letter from the Attorney General. It says, what facilities must provide accessible parking? Any facility which provides parking for employees and or visitors must provide accessible parking. This requirement has been in effect since 1968. And all changes, improvements, etc., trigger this. And in talking to the Attorney General, she's under the belief, like Mike is, that since 1968 you touched your lot. So the requirement still still stands past. I do want to comment and congratulate Melissa. She's been able to work with a number of, I'll call the sliver stores, in getting some agreements where we can maybe have 10 spots. They only need a 1, but there's other ownerships in there. So she's been working on that, and we have a couple of those, I think, that have come to fruition. I know you're getting ready to send people to our court. If there's no signs, or if they're not complying, or they haven't contacted you in some way, shape, or form, I know Lorenzo's is taking care of those. I see Dr. Marshall did a nice job of seal coating and painting, and I know there's some other agreements that I know you're working on with Ben Jurong and that little sliver there, that they have an agreement going on, and we're working with an agreement potentially by Christopher's in the back. There's a lady that has maybe 6 or 8 spots there, and also we're going to put some additional striping on our parking lot in the back there, although it can't count for theirs. We'll have a little extra in the back there. We picked out 2. In fact, this afternoon we went on a ride. So it's moving right ahead, and it's in the right thing to do. So I'll close with this little piece. I do get the Des Plaines Valley News from the south side. I subscribe to a number of periodicals, and one of the things that hit me was Summit increases their water rates for residents. They haven't increased since 2012. Their new rate per 1,000 gallons is $10.33 going into effect, which our rate is what, Melissa, right, or Maureen? $8.35, so we're $2 a thousand less than, and this is a small town as well. The other piece that I wanted to talk about was they awarded a contract of $49,999, almost $50,000, for the combined sewer cleaning and televising from Archer Road to Harlem Avenue. So when you're on First Avenue, going up to, say, Harlem, Archer Road is the stoplight right by the Citgo, where you could make a left and catch the bus to, Bloomington, right? So that stretch, which I drive frequently, from Archer Road to Harlem Avenue, is no longer than the stretch from the base of the bridge to Roosevelt Road. Base of the bridge to Roosevelt Road. $50,000 for that one stretch for cleaning and televising, whatever. The engineer's estimate was $74,000 for doing that stretch. And the reason I'm bringing this forward, although we did not camera our stuff, we did from the base of the Roosevelt Road Bridge to Wolf Road, and from Wolf Road to the base of the Cermak Road Bridge in-house, and albeit we probably spent $50,000 to $60,000, although there were other things dumped in there as well. So, reason I bring this forward is I just got this paper today, but to show that our in-house guys have saved us how much money? That was, well over 50, 50, 50, 50. That could have been a $200,000 project based on distances, based on what Archer Road to Harlem Avenue is. And although we ended up paying 50, 60 grand for our own stuff, we saved almost 4 times it. So, just information. Okay, other than that, do we have an exec today, Janet?
No, we do not.
No, great. Okay, so a motion is second to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Tommy and Angelo, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? We stand adjourned. We'll move right into our committee of the whole.